Now, he tends to be a little bit of a catastrophist, but I know.
Awesome. Okay, so what is PR? One of my favorite old sayings is advertising is what you pay for and PR is what you pray for. As a publicist, I think that that's just kind of a fun take on it. But in actuality, the true definition of PR is, and this is from the Public Relations Society of America, taken from Dr. Glenn Broom's book, Cullip Center and Broom, over from at San Diego State. Public relations is a strategic communications process that builds mutually beneficial relationships between organizations and their publics. So what does that mean? I usually say, I'm the intermediary between the institution or the campaign and reaching their publics. And we do that a lot of times with publicity and media relations. And publicity, in most cases, I focus on the earned media placements. Of course, advertising versus PR, here's kind of a breakdown. I don't need to go through them in detail. I think most people recognize when they see an ad versus an article that has an article or a news segment versus, a print ad or commercial. You've got that third-party credibility of the news outlet behind that story, and just kind of gives it a little bit more weight. It's not to say that advertising isn't a really strong tactic within a campaign. It's just when you have a maybe really established brand, advertising is good to really emphasize and re-emphasize that brand or message. PR kind of tells that story and educates and gives a little bit more information in a lot of cases. So our PR goals for the campaign, of course, increase the number of nonprofits. We had 107 last year in its inaugural year. Our goal was 250, and we ended up with 327, which, is attributed to the work last year, as well as some of the overall communication this year. And then another campaign goal, raising $2 million for local nonprofits, and really the goal being local. So the money is staying here in San Diego. As far as publicity goals, we'd really like to see, and I think this is going to be definitely something that we can do, 40 news interviews across 6 different print, digital, broadcast outlets before September 8th, and then at least 20 interviews across at least 6 different print, digital, and broadcast outlets on September 8th. And I like to emphasize that it's print, digital, and broadcast, because any campaign really should have a nice mix of different mediums. I do a lot of broadcasts, but there's print and digital is still super valuable. And the goal always with any PR or publicity is to create that content that we could then repurpose in other ways. So it's not just the one time something is aired or run or seen, but having it available to share in social media and your e-blasts and websites and in other verticals as well. In addition to the earned media that I'll be focusing on, we have some in-kind media sponsorships that we were able to secure, which is really exciting. Last year, we had the San Diego Business Journal, iHeartMedia, primarily through Star, and Cox Media. They're all coming back on board, in some cases in a bigger capacity. And then we've also lined up KPBS, Ranch and Coast, and Voice of San Diego. A few deals we're still finalizing, but this is just going to be a huge extra push for us to help get the word out about the campaign. So as far as our PR plan, like I said, focusing on local earned media placements in high profile outlets, a mix of digital, print, and broadcast coverage, utilizing press releases to communicate that, certainly additional pitches directly to producers and editors to secure broadcast segments, for example. We have 5 general market TV stations and 3 Spanish language stations. So we really have a lot to work with. One thing I did want to point out is that as far as the campaign, we'll be drafting the press releases to communicate, obviously the overall campaign, leading people to our website with all of the different participating nonprofits. So we would like to ask that each individual nonprofit isn't doing their own press releases for specific to the campaign. Of course, you'll have other things going on, but specific to the campaign, if you would let us promote the campaign with our like a proper press release. As far as story angles, we began with, of course, the registration being open, including the option of San Diego Gibbs University. July 16th kickoff, which happens to be San Diego's birthday, and when we've chosen to kind of kick things off with Love Them All opportunity for people to give. And then it being, kind of an open season from then till September. Now I'm confused on the date. September 8th, 9th, 9th. And of course, Day of Giving and Nonprofits Unite, hyperlocal giving, and giving by interest and impact. Those are all different story angles that we'll be tackling as we head closer into the throes of the campaign. I wanted to take just a minute to talk about tips for generating publicity. And this is just something to keep in mind as you are filling out your publicity form, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But just in terms of general tips for publicity, I like to share this. In my mind, there's 5 ways to get free publicity or earned media. And a lot of them, it's funny, when I was going back through this, a lot of them do relate to the San Diego Gives campaign. So for one, holding an event, obviously the launch of the campaign is a key message point for us. Partnering with a charity, so a community fundraiser, something of that nature. A tie into a holiday or season. Of course, we're using San Diego's birthday as a day as one of those extra holidays. But, it can relate to anything. One of my favorites, I worked with a dog grooming business for a long time. And what we would always do PR around Take Your Dog to Work Day, because it was kind of an extra fun little holiday that we could be in the salon getting all the dogs pampered and primped for the for Take Your Dog to Work Day. So just an example of a holiday. It doesn't have to necessarily be a seasonal traditional holiday, but there's a lot of those free Google different fun holidays, and that could be a potential angle for publicity. Certainly inviting a reviewer, profiling your owner or volunteer or customer, someone like that. And then as far as what makes a good news story, here are some things to keep in mind. Timeliness, is it new and happening soon? Significance, how many people are affected? Why should people care? Proximity, certainly if it's closer to home, it's gonna hit more with that, local media. The novelty or rarity, if something's unusual, of course, that's gonna garner some more media attention. Prominence, if you've got a celebrity connection, that works nicely too. Conflict, unfortunately, I like to focus on positive feature press, but sometimes when there's a conflict, that could create some media opportunities. Sometimes being nice can be boring. And then, of course, human interest is probably my favorite. It's often disregarded. It often disregards the general rules of newsworthiness, and it doesn't date as quickly. So it's a little bit more evergreen, appeals to emotions, and can be humorous or quirky, kind of that bucket that everything else falls into. Does anyone have any questions about tips for generating publicity?
Yes, Sarah, there's one question from Edwin in the chat just about, could you elaborate on step number 4 on invite a reviewer?
Sure. Tell me what your nonprofit is.
Hello, everyone. I am from Boys and Girls Clubs of Oceanside.
Okay, awesome. So as far as inviting a reviewer, for you, I would reach out to maybe an influencer and invite them to have an experience at the club. Maybe you have a special event or something coming up that you could invite them to. You could potentially comp a camp for them to kind of diary on their social, and basically do a review. But reviewers don't necessarily have to be, what we would think of as like a food critic. It could be an influencer or somebody that has a solid following on social media.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions before we move on? Thanks.
Okay. So as far as making the most of San Diego Gives, there's a couple different opportunities for your coverage. Certainly publicity, PR, social media, and what we're calling impact stories. And I'll get into each of these here. So we created a PR interest form, really super simple Google survey that asks questions. So your organization, your spokesperson, contact info, what part of town you're in, description of your organization, and certainly if you have any activities coming up in September, you don't necessarily need to by any means. It's just good to know if you may have potential visual elements for possible broadcast stories, or if maybe we should look to your organization to be included in print or digital, if there isn't maybe something as interactive for a broadcast station to film. And then it would be awesome and super helpful if you could include B-roll, which is video, still photos, and just any other marketing assets that you think might be helpful for us to have, and also share with the media. So anything that you include in this PR interest form, please know that it could be shared with the media. And if you could make sure that the spokesperson's names are spelt correctly, because this is what will be shared with the media. And then there was an extra little section that we included about impact from last year. So if it applies to you and you participated last year and the campaign was especially impactful for you, then we would love to know that too, because that's part of the story that we can tell with some media outlets, primarily on the business side, but it would be good to know. So that's one thing. Let me see if I could try to pull it up.
I have it. I have it ready in the chat, Sarah. I was just waiting until you explained it because I didn't want to be. I don't know about anybody else, but you all of a sudden you pop a link in the chat and you're starting to fill it out, and then you're like, "Wait, I'm confused." So I just was right here. So yeah. So Lisa, to your question, there's the form. The form is also going to go out in a email, the weekly email that Sharon Goodson sends out, and then it's on the website as well under the nonprofit toolkit. Sorry, Sarah, you were gonna just to show it, right?
I was going to show it. I don't know if I'm a little nervous to take myself out of this slideshow. It's really straightforward to answer the questions, but if you'd like to show it, you totally can.
Well, I think the big thing we were talking about too, like I said, it's a new thing for us. Last year, we essentially had media spokespersons, which is kind of similar to this year, but we wanted to give more options. So it wasn't just can you speak to media the week of and do you have an event, but broadening that to Sarah's point, because there's triple what we had last year. So how do we do our best job of, again, the whole goal of the PR for the campaign is campaign wide, just to really drive that home. But when there's opportunities to be nonprofit specific, we want to do that. And so this form will be the place to put that. It'll be the place that our marketing and communications committee will send out impact stories. We'll send out, like I said, use of photos or B-roll. And the other thing just to say about it is that you can go back and edit it. So I would probably bookmark it, fill it out. And then if you're like, oh shoot, that event got canceled, or we have another one I'm going to add that one, or we have another spokesperson, you can go in and adjust it.
Perfect. And I'll also say the birthday parties and the kickoff, we're planning to use campaign spokespeople as we're driving people to our birthday party celebrations. Actually, I'll get into that on another slide. But that's kind of more campaign-wide education for the community. And then as between the birthday parties and our day of giving will be shifted, the focus will be shifted to PR for the day of giving and utilizing all of our wonderful nonprofits as examples of how people can give, where they can give, examples of where their donations are going and so forth. So we want to try to highlight as many nonprofit participants as we can, and really looking at different opportunities for them to be highlighted. So whether that's broadcast or being included in a broadcast segment, or maybe a print or digital interview and so forth. So in addition to the PR, there's opportunity for engagement with social media. So of course, we would love to ask you to follow San Diego Gives. And here's all of our handles, and they're all the same for Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And then, of course, the more engagement that we have, the more followers we'll get. And so if you can, take some time, maybe once a week, like and comment on some of our posts, share them. We have some prepackaged content that we'll be providing, graphics and copy to make things really super easy to share. So that's another opportunity to be both for engagement for the overall campaign, and then there'll be an opportunity to be highlighted on social media, on the San Diego Gives social media, with the information you provide on the PR interest form. And then likewise with the impact stories, in addition to the publicity and being highlighted on social, we're just calling this other bucket impact stories. So iHeartMedia will be highlighting different nonprofits throughout July, August, and part of September. So there's an opportunity there to be highlighted. Social media, San Diego Gives social media, and San Diego Gives eBlast that will be going out as well. So again, please share more about yourselves through the PR Impact Forum.
Real quick, Sarah,
And then-
sorry.
Yep.
Before you jump into birthday parties, a question chat about with so many participating organizations, how do you plan on highlighting each? And just to reiterate, that's kind of the goal of this forum and the goal of the impact stories and social media and the media and the I don't know that there's physically any way to highlight everybody. And I'm a part of a group on LinkedIn of other giving days, people. And I've asked the question, they're like, yeah, we've never been able, good luck, let us know what you find out. So the goal is to just do as through that form. And so that form is what's going to be used. We're not going to go out in an email and say, hey, does anyone want to go talk to the media on this day? Or does anyone have a good story? That form is where all that's going to be pulled from. So the first step is going to be utilizing that form. And then the second step is just that our marketing and communications committee is going to work our butts off to do as much as we can for everybody who wants to participate through that form. Does that sound accurate, Sarah?
Yep. That's just it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I know. It is a lot of nonprofits to highlight, and in that, but I do think that there is going to be a lot of opportunities. So as if you can fill out that form, what that form does is then puts it into a spreadsheet for us, and then we can search, and we can really, I'm going to kind of analyze all that data and then look for opportunities to highlight as many nonprofits as possible. I see a hand raised, Mindy.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Mindy Wright from SBCS. I just wanted to clarify, and forgive me if this is repetitive information, but I just want to clarify. So you guys are not looking for individual nonprofits to be doing any outreach to the media about this event, or about the campaign, I should say. Like, truly, you don't want us to send out press releases. You don't want us to be pitching. You just want us to put ideas for you to pitch into this form, and then you're going to kind of aggregate it however it makes sense and then do the outreach, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, we would absolutely love your help in sharing on social, but again, providing information about yourselves so that we can, like you said, aggregate the various nonprofits and look for ways to highlight, maybe a small group together, or for different individual opportunities. But as the campaign has grown, we feel like it could be really confusing to the media if, we're sending out a campaign press release, and then I'm sure some of the organizations on this call and myself have the same media contacts. So we don't want to be sending Pam Cragen at the UT, 40 different press releases, on similar content. So just to try to kind of do our best with that media relations.
That makes sense. And then I haven't looked at the form yet, but is there a way to kind of give multiple ideas? Like, for an example, over the summer, SBCS we could be doing a food drive. We could do like a back to school thing. And I'm sure that integrates with other nonprofits. Like, we might have a story around a specific program. Can we kind of throw like 5 ideas at you in the same form?
That would be awesome. Love that. It's not limited in space.
Okay.
Some of the fields are, I think, but not that one.
Okay.
And that would be great. And the reason we ask too, you made me think of something. The reason we ask area of town is what I'd love to have do is say pitch KUSI to go live multiple days. And maybe we can, I'm hopeful that we can get them to, for example, do one in North County at a neutral location, highlighting a couple different nonprofits. Because when they do go out for their morning show, they have, 3 to 4 segments that are 3.5 to 5 minutes long. So there could be a really great opportunity to highlight by region. So we could highlight several nonprofits in North County, and then maybe the next day do several in South Bay and several in East County, for example. So that was the reason for asking, kind of area of town. But any additional information that you could provide with ideas, maybe there's multiple back to school drives taking place that we could theme it that way.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I'm sure that there's a lot of other like groupings. Okay, that'll make sense. Thank you.
Exactly. Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions before we go into the birthday party?
Yeah, Sarah, there's a question about, there's a question about updating the form and adding a question, which I just did. And then it says, when sending out the campaign press release and promoting San Diego Gives as a whole, will there be individual organizations highlighted within a press release and larger media materials being distributed? If so, how will those be? How will we figure out, who will those be?
I'm not sure I understand the question. The press releases are going to include links to the website that has everyone listed. Is that what you mean?
I think Sydney's asking if there's going to be like, hey, give towards San Diego Gives. There's 327 nonprofits. Here are some of them, just so you here's an idea as to who's participating.
Mm-hmm.
If we're doing that, how? And I think the answer is that we're not, but through the form, right? If there's opportunities to through events or activities or interviews, etc., that's how they will be highlighted.
Exactly. In the formal pitches, I don't plan to highlight any specific nonprofits. I don't think that would be fair. I rather refer them to the website to look by area or all the different ways they can search. But in the individual pitches to, say, a producer, I might be explaining the campaign and I might say, for example, here are a few, but that's more of kind of a direct pitch.
One of the things I wanted to say too is that we are putting together like a map of geographic locations of nonprofits. So like an interactive one where you could like scroll. So if a donor, and it'll be on the website and maybe linked through, pitches and such, but if a donor clicks on that, they can scroll in and look or put their zip code in and look in their neighborhood and see who's nearby or whatever. You were just talking about geographically, so I thought of it. I don't think it had anything to really do with what we were talking about at the time.
That's good to share.
Thanks. Christine, do you have a question?
Hi, yes. First, thank you both for running the workshop. Actually, I had 2 questions related to social media. First, I know you shared the @ Is there also a hashtag that we should make sure to use so that users can follow the hashtag to see everyone?
Yes. I will put those in the chat.
Okay. Thank you. And then the second question is, so when we do on our profiles, tag @ San Diego Gives, will you all be resharing on your depending on the platform we're using? So like a retweet or like a share into a story?
We're gonna try and do as much as that as we possibly can. Yes.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Those are great questions. And then Sarah has a note, it says, perhaps the sharpness of our hooks and quality / compelling nature of images in B-roll. I think that's to the question of how will you pick nonprofits. But yes, Terry, I think literally that document's going to be used, and what makes, Sarah can speak better to but like if somebody's like, I really want to go see X, right? We're not going to say, well, no, actually go see Y. We're going to want to give them X, whatever X is that they want to see. And we only know what to send them to that's X if that form is filled out, successfully and has good information in it.
Mhm. And with media relations, there's so many outlying factors too, like a particular station, if they have a regular adoption segment, they might want to cover animal related nonprofits, or they might not because they already cover it on that adoption segment every week, for example. So my point only being that we will pitch these story angles, and then the media will ultimately drive, and each station or media outlet will ultimately drive where they want to focus. But we're going to do our darndest to make sure that each impact area and part of town, and just ultimately as many nonprofits as we can get highlighted. So as far as the birthday parties, that's what we're calling it. It's the launch of the Love Them All Fund. So I just think it's really fun that we're highlighting it on San Diego's birthday. It happens to be a Saturday, so it works out really nice. The message for the media is that, we've got these local businesses that are donating a good portion of their proceeds that day, and it's going into the Love Them All Fund. The businesses are donating, but also any donations that come in on that day would go to the Love Them All Fund. Here they are listed. So Ale Smith Brewing Company, Cute Cakes, Kendra Scott, Local Roots Kombucha, Sammy's, at all 5 locations, or 5 of their 6, I should say, and the San Diego Padres. So we're hoping that you could help us to both, attend one of these locations, spread awareness, just overall create that buzz for the kickoff of the campaign. Yeah. Do you have anything else to add on that, Lauren?
No, just to explain the Love Them All Fund just a little bit was it's we had it last year, but we didn't really utilize it a lot last year. But it's essentially if a donor comes to the website and says, "Man, I just love all of you," like I don't want to give to just one of you or 2 of you, right? Because they can put a handful in their checkout. They can check out to the Love Them All Fund, and it'll go equally to everybody. So it's, of course, not money that you'll get a donor document for, because that would mean that 327 nonprofits are emailing to say thank you for $5 or whatever the case is. So, but it's essentially some free money. And so on July 16th, like Sarah said, any of the proceeds from these events will be essentially a check will be cut, and then we'll go in and pop it into Love Them All, and everyone will get their piece of it. And I think my internal goal, I don't know if we said it out loud, is $10,000 for that day with all those locations, which would be amazing. We will have a text to give for Love Them All as well that day. But donors are also able to, if they go to any of these locations and they get a flyer, and because we're going to have volunteers at these locations, if they get a flyer, they might be like, "Oh, can I just give to a nonprofit I want?" They could go on and give to anybody, because July 16th is the very first day of giving. So you could start getting donations that day from these events if somebody shows up and doesn't want to do Love Them All but wants to give directly to your nonprofit. Anyway, all that to say, yes, please, if your nonprofit's in Escondido, definitely help to push, whatever location that's nearest to you, or all of them, or pop them on social media or newsletter. And I'll put the link in the chat to the website, because there's a website with addresses and times and what proceeds for what. And then 2 of the locations are requiring a flyer, the rest are not. So those are on the website as well.
Perfect. Thank you. And we have some PR office hours in August and September, just in case there's any final questions as you're filling out your forms going into our day of giving. We'll also be hosting another webinar kind of a PR media update so we can showcase and share some of the press from the July kickoff. We'll do a media training session, which will likely have some specific examples of media opportunities that are secured and in the works. And then we can do a PR brainstorm as well. And that's Thursday, August 4th at 9:30. And then, so as far as next steps, if you would please fill out the publicity spreadsheet, the PR interest form, post and share on social media, and attend one of the July 16th birthday party celebrations.
Thanks, Sarah. Mindy had a question about, is there any matching element? Matching can be a powerful motivator. Yes, we are twofold receiving, well, two things for matches. We'll have campaign-wide matches. Right now we're looking at about $50,000 that we can provide throughout the day in a match. So if a donor comes at 2 o'clock or a donor gives a certain amount, or we're still working on what that looks like, Mighty Cause will automatically put money into your account as a match, which is amazing. And so also the other piece is getting your own nonprofit matches. So when you go to the Find Your Cause page, there's an actual button you can click that says, only include nonprofits with matches. And so it'll go from 327 maybe to 20, and then they can go from there. And so if they really want their $100 to be $200, then they can do that. What would be really cool too, right, is if you had your own match, plus we had a campaign match and you got tripled essentially. But yes, matching is a powerful motivator. We're suggesting that everyone go out and get some of their own as well. And then Emma, is the Petco Park funding coming from ticket sales? That would be amazing. I've been trying for months, and I've been using my friends who have Petco or Padres influences to get more than we currently have for July 16th. Right now, it's just a kiosk, so actually no proceeds are coming from, but because there's thousands of people there, the hope is that we're going to get the word out right through that opportunity. But I have been dreaming and sleeping, trying to get more from the Padres this year. I don't know that it'll happen at this point, but definitely an item for next year.
That's the only one on that list. Sorry, I was a little bit deceiving. The other restaurants, bars and restaurants are more of the ones that are giving, in most cases, 20% of the proceeds all day. And then we'll have a presence with birthday party celebrations for about 2 hours of that full day kickoff celebration.
Our hope is to do things like that too on the day of or the night before, kind of as a kickoff for September 8th as well. But we're kind of doing this one step at a time, which is hard for me, do the one thing and then wait and then plan for the other thing. But places that are participating July 16th are open and willing and desiring to do multiple events throughout the campaign.
So on that note, if there's anyone that that would be a good addition for the day of, or well, rather the night before, let us know too.
Yes, Elaine, can you provide the information as to locations? Yes, I did put that in the chat, unless you're looking for something additional than what's in the chat, but that I'm going to post it. It has addresses, location, business name, specifics on proceeds, and then if a flyer, if anything is needed. Let me know if you're looking for something other than that or more than that. Yeah, as always, I put the info at email address in the chat. As always, happy to, it's a group of volunteers putting it together, but we're really a community group, right, of everybody. I mean, there's so many great ideas that have come from other people who are not on a committee that say, hey, have you thought of that? I'm like, that's a great idea. Thank you. Will you go do it now? No. But so happy. It's not this closed off. We're doing what we're doing and that's it. It's very open to other ideas, other sponsors, other people. So really appreciate any thoughts you have ever, even if you think they're silly. These slides they're actually already on the website. And then once we're done, I will upload the recording. And we'll hopefully see you, like I said, August 4th, as well as at some of those, we have the office hours, but this would be essentially like a PR office hour with Sarah specifically. So definitely sign up for any of those and let us know if you have any other questions. Yes, Christine, the info out would be great. Next year, we're going to have more than just info at. We're going to have like sponsor at and media at, and we're going to expand our options, but info at is great. Thanks, Christine. Is there a deadline, Sarah, for the form to be filled out?
Good question. Not necessarily, although I'd say if you could fill it out before the end of the month, that would be uber helpful.
And of course, there'll be things, right, that'll change or update. But yeah, if we could, I'll add that to these weekly emails as well.
We can always utilize the additional information, but it's most ideal the sooner that information is submitted. And again, it'll take probably 5 to 10 minutes max, because it's, really easy stuff.
Great, you guys. Well, you know how to reach us if you have any questions. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Sarah, for being available and for being a part of the team this year. We look forward to a huge year this year.
Absolutely. Can't wait. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, you guys. Have a great day.